Usually it turns out to be something small. Someone may say something one time to you, not even aggressively, they just say it to you. Maybe they were tired, or maybe it just came out wrong in the way they intended it to. Maybe they just said it without thinking at all. You hear the words though, you react to them, and then it's over. The event has finished. It lasted seconds, maybe up to a minute at most. But what follows lasts much longer than those mere moments that those words were uttered to you. What you do is you start adjusting. It's not over dramatically. You don't even realize it at first. It's just small shifts in your demeanor. Maybe you'll speak a bit differently in certain situations. Maybe you'll hold yourself back next time. Maybe you'll stop saying certain things because it makes people react this way or that way. You'll think twice before saying anything ever again. And it feels reasonable to an extent. It feels like you're learning. It feels like you've just found a pattern and you're avoiding that pattern now. That is where it changes, because now it is no longer about that moment. It is about what you are doing after the moment. You have taken something temporary and turned it into a rule, something permanent, something, changing your life forever, because the rule now stays. And it happens in obvious places. You fail once at something and the next time you approach it completely differently. And it's not because the situation is identical, but because it feels close enough for your body to feel like, okay, well, it didn't work last time. Let me adjust. You bring the previous result into the next attempt before anything has actually happened. So the outcome is already influenced, even though you're yet to react to the actual event. It happens in quieter places too. Someone may react badly to something that you say, and one person may have just done it one time. That's all it takes. You just don't even remember it. You're adjusting your behavior in every similar conversation after that without even noticing why you're changing your behavior. You're editing yourself before absolutely anything goes wrong so you can just be picture perfect. And you may call it awareness to an extent, but it is not always awareness. Sometimes all it is just a carryover. It's just trauma coming along with you on the ride. The original moment is gone completely. It's disappeared. It's finished. Those mere seconds. The person is no longer there. The words no longer linger in your mind. The context is gone. Everything is finished. The exact conditions that a moment, that event happened in don't exist anymore, but the adjustment is still running. That is the complete issue with this thing. You are allowing, again, like the title, something temporary to transform into something permanent. You are not really fixated on what actually happened, but instead what stayed within your life. Because the thing that stayed was not neutral. It shaped exactly how you move. It shaped how you approach absolutely everything now. You avoided certain risks and you approached things with less openness, and you limited the things that you were willing to do before anything in the present actually justified it. And over time, that compounds and it grows exponentially. You may not notice it as damages. You may simply notice it as consistency. I'm just like this, or I don't do that. Oh, that's not who I am. That's not really me, blah, 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 blah. But a lot of that was not chosen. It was formed. And if you go back in time, most of it traces to those moments that did not last, to those temporary moments where someone unintentionally said something to you. All it was a single reaction. All it was a short period or a specific environment in which something changed your life. Things that ended, but the response did not end. And now it is affecting things that are completely separate from where it started, that have no context, they have no similarity between the event that caused it and now the life that you live in. They are different people, they're different situations, they're different stakes, yet for some reason, it's all the same response. And that is not accuracy. As much as you can blind yourself to believe it is, it's not. That is inertia, because the response becomes automatic and it does not feel like a choice anymore. It feels like reality, so now you just stop questioning it. It feels like you, even though it's not. It shouldn't be, at least. You can literally see it if you slow down. If you just take one moment and you breathe and you relax, you can actually actively see it in your life. Someone may ask you something just simple. There is nothing loaded. There is nothing hidden behind the message. It's not complicated at all. And then there is a split second where the honest answer is already there in your mind. You feel it immediately, and it doesn't need any sort of thinking or clarification. But then something shifts, and instead of saying that honest truth, it gets adjusted. It may be slight, it may be massive, but you feel it happen and you go along with it anyway because it is so much smoother for the conversation that way. It avoids something, it avoids conflict, and you don't even know exactly what you're avoiding. It just feels like it's easier to avoid it as a whole. And then the moment passes as if it was the only version of that conversation that had ever existed in your mind. And if you go back to it 1 second later, the original answer is much harder to reach. It isn't gone, yet it is a lot quieter. It's a lot further back in your mind than it should have been at the start. It is less certain, like it has to justify and fight its way back into something that was not there before. And nothing in that moment required that adjustment. And that is the part that doesn't make sense about this whole facade. The person never reacted badly to you. It may have been someone in the past who reacted badly to that sentence, but the situation did not demand any sort of adjustment in this certain case. There was no real consequences waiting for you, but you still did it. The only consequence was the one that you set up in your mind, because something old was still deciding the entire conversation's outlook for you. And it continues to happen throughout your entire life. Different conversations, different relationships, different people, the same exact shift, the same small edit in your life right before something real comes out, right before you actually engage in a real conversation. And it's so consistent that it's consistent enough to start feeling like that is just how you are in life. Yet I'm here to tell you that it is not. It is just the version that has been running the longest, just the version that has justified itself to you the longest compared to any of the other versions. And if you stop in that moment for one time, just once, and you don't move past it, it may feel off to you. And there's a kind of exposure in just saying the thing without adjusting it. It is not dramatic at all. It shouldn't feel dramatic. It shouldn't feel loud. It shouldn't feel like you have to change the world just by saying what's in your mind. Yet, it is enough to make you hesitate for a moment. And that hesitation is not coming from what's in front of you. It's not coming from the person in front of you or the conversation that you're having. What it is coming from is something that has already ended. And if you ignore that thing and say it anyway, then nothing really does happen. You come to realize that the thing in your mind that you want to say out loud most of the time is a perfectly fine response. And then that's when you finally notice it properly. The fact that nothing happens, just think about that. The fact that nothing will happen if you just say what you were thinking, just because one moment in the past made you feel like something should happen. The thing you were adjusting for, it's not even here anymore. It's gone. It's in the past. It hasn't been with you for ages, for a while. However, the adjustment that came with that moment stayed with you. So you continue to move as if it is. And that is how something temporary continues to show up in places that it doesn't belong. It continues to stay permanent in your mind. And it is not because that temporary thing is still happening, but because you never stopped responding to it.